What up? We're back. Sideline Specialists is here with episode number 13. We're talking NFC Division predictions, NFL regular season award predictions, the news on both the NFL. Maybe we'll throw in some MLB, but it's really all NFL right now because the preseason is ending. Regular season is on the way. So without further ado, let's jump into things.
Welcome to Sideline Specialists.
All right, honestly, that one just started getting better. That was the strobe light effect.
I think we're going to need to save that one. That's a vibe.
Yeah.
All right.
I was wondering what it was going to come in because it was just called Dance Pop. So I was like, this could go many different ways.
Yeah, that could have been curious for sure.
Exactly. Well, what's up, Tom? What's going on?
Not much. I went to First Watch for breakfast, went to a place for dinner. Today was my one day off this week, so just decided to be lazy and go places. But
where'd you go for dinner?
It's called McGlynn's. It's like a Delaware pub thing.
Oh,
but they
love me a good pub.
Yeah, well, they built a from scratch brand new one in this shopping center where they were building a Wegmans, and it's it has a huge outside bar and area, and we're definitely going to go there in the fall because they have fire pits built outside with TVs that you can see from the fire pits, so football at night. I was
that's sick.
I'm like, they thought ahead with this. So
yeah, they did. That's
nice.
It
seems pretty cool.
Dude, I could don't get me wrong, I love summer. And I want summer to last a long time. But once fall starts hitting, I'm like, I'll admit I love pumpkin flavored stuff. It's great.
So they brought a whole dish of pumpkin spice creamer, little things out when we were
at First that's Watch. Amazing.
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use those.
Oh, hell yeah. Pumpkin cream cheese, that shit is good.
Dude.
I mean, I'll get pumpkin coffee because I just drink coffee all the time. But pumpkin beers, fuck yeah. I'm ready for some fall beers. I'm ready for all of that. And football to be back.
So I get the brewery. So it's hiding under. All right. So yeah, my beer has a sweater, by the way.
That's amazing.
But yeah, Sam Adams, Porch Rocker. So this is obviously a summer thing, but their Oktoberfest, 10 out of 10.
Agreed. I've had their Oktoberfest.
So good. So if you haven't had Yinglings yet, I think they released it last year for the first time. And this was my dad and his partner went in 2022 to the brewery and did a whole thing, a whole tour, whatever, for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were there, they were actually allowing people to sample Oktoberfest, and it was unreleased at that point. They were literally just trying to get feedback.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was like, yeah, it's one of the better ones he's ever had. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Yingling they don't come out with new stuff often, but when they do, it's pretty on point. So
their Hershey's Porter, that is one of my favorites because it's so light but still a porter at the same time. So it's just that shit is good.
But see, I was gonna say, that's why I like it, because I don't like the heavy dark beers that much. The ones that feel thick, I'm like, ugh. I just can't. But yeah, I'm stoked, because it will literally a couple weeks the shelves will have those again.
Oh yeah, it's funny because in the summer I love sour beers. I'm a huge sour beer fan, but then fall winter I actually do like stouts and porters are some of my favorites.
Okay.
And but then I like the Oktoberfest, I like stuff like that. And I'll try some other things. The only thing I don't like are the hoppy IPAs, double IPAs, all that kind of stuff. That's really the only thing I don't like. But I will say, so Trogs, we've been to the brewery in Hershey multiple times now, and they always have, they just call it scratch beers, and they just experiment. So it's all sorts of different beers that they experiment with at the brewery, and they don't release them.
Okay.
But like, so all of my favorite Trogs beers are ones you can only get there at the brewery.
Yeah.
Because they're always, the beers they always release are always IPAs. And I'm like, those are the ones
know.
I don't care about.
Now, 2SP does similar. Two Stones. They had one called Remnants Number 3, which was literally like the leftovers from another beer they made, and then they added a ton of fruit to it.
Ooh.
Like peels from like lemons, limes, oranges, and then they put grapefruit juice in it and let it age for like a fucking year.
Uh-huh.
It was like 13% alcohol. It was so strong, but it literally just it tasted so like insanely fruity. But you could literally only get it in Aston. Like it was the only.
That's something I would definitely enjoy. And
it was just, and they were literally like, we don't waste product. Like we will take the extras leftovers and make it into something else. And once it's gone, it's gone. I was like, I like that.
Right. Like, have you ever had Mad Elf?
Yeah. They're the red bottle they sell in the fall. I forget the name of it, but it's like a 10%er cinnamon, whatever.
Yeah, it's like cinnamon, cranberry, and cherry or something like that.
Yeah,
but
it's intense.
So then at the brewery, though, during Christmas time, they have, I forget if it was either the sexy elf or the naked elf. It was one of those two. But they just called it that for the brewery. It's the same thing with chocolate.
Ooh.
And it was so good, but they don't release it. They just stick with the regular Mad Elf. And I'm like, oh, just if you release that, people would buy that like crazy.
Yeah.
A beer that can get you fucked up that doesn't taste heavy, but it has chocolate in it too.
And tastes like chocolate and doesn't taste like fake bullshit. Because there's a lot of those beers that do advertise like dark chocolate and it just tastes like horrendous and you can't even pretend it doesn't. Like it's just bad.
Exactly. And their brewery's right there in Hershey, so they usually have like a partnership with them and use Hershey's chocolate.
But that's another thing I love about Pennsylvania. It's like all these companies do actually like work together.
Oh yeah.
To create stuff. It's not just, you know what I mean? Like Victory did one with Tasty Cake. It wasn't good, but they tried it.
Yeah, at least they tried.
Yeah, like I admire that. I'm like, you guys, you're both pretty household names in this state, especially Tasty Cake. So like, give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people loved it. It was just like, it had too much of a side flavor for me.
I got you.
Like as soon as you swallowed it, the aftertaste was just sus. And I was like, I don't know.
Can't do it. 2SP did one with Wawa too.
Yeah, and I'm like, hell yeah, because it's, if you think about where their starting points are, like Wawa, where their first one was, and then obviously where 2SP is, it's like 10 minutes apart.
Yeah.
So literally, like, it's just, it makes so much sense. Why not?
Oh yeah, completely.
And if you're anybody from Delco, yeah, but it's like if you're anybody from Delco, you'll see Wawa on there and just buy it without hesitating.
Oh
yeah, you know what I mean. You're just like, I need to know.
So. That's what I did. I saw a Wawa beer and I was like, "Yep,
get in my belly."
I was like, "I'll take 20."
There you go.
Oh man! But with that being said, we might as well jump into some actual sports. So we will start with some of the news. I have just a little bit of a rundown. So for those that don't know, I do some fantasy sports writing on the side and I write for rotoballer.com. So I have their news section pulled up here because we have a really cool and really good news desk full of people that write the news all day long, and we have pretty much 24/7 coverage.
I need this link.
Yeah,
because I will live on this.
I'll put it in our chat on the StreamYard.
Sick.
So yeah, we this is part of what I do. Like you'll probably see my name in some of these news posts. I do a lot of the NBA and NFL. But with that being said, so most of this is going to be news that is specifically fantasy related for those that might want to check it out. It's not going to be every single person that gets hurt, released, so on and so forth. Because if it's like a fourth string guy, fantasy wise, you don't really care. But yeah, so Jalen Waddle's at least back at practice. That is great to know, especially because we were looking earlier. I forget what page it was on, but to go along with the Jalen Waddle news, Odell Beckham has not been activated off of the PUP list just yet. And if he does not get activated, I forget which day exactly, but he's forced to miss the first 4 games of the season.
Okay.
So I don't think it was today, but it's by a specific day. If you're not activated off the PUP list, you have to miss the first 4 games. And then I think there's another cutoff date where if you're not activated, then I think then you miss another X amount of games. I'm not sure if it's the rest of the season or an X amount of games.
Okay.
That I would have to look up because I always forget those little details. But obviously with Miami, I don't think Odell Beckham is really going to add all that much to this team. It's going to be Tyreek and Waddle. They're going to be the big two that they're going to aim for. They at least upgraded the tight end spot because Durham Smythe was, pretty much a non-factor. Actually, last season, I did all of our fantasy outlooks and recaps for both the Ravens and the Dolphins on Rotoballer. So I was like kind of tuned into Miami, especially on the fantasy end of things. And Durham Smythe was like one of the worst fantasy tight ends in the entire league, especially starting tight ends. So now they get Jonnu, which he had a great year last year in Atlanta. So
and it
bring
was
him
easy
in.
for him to leave Atlanta, obviously,
Exactly.
with Kyle Pitts. Like, if you're Jonnu, you've been in the league a minute, you want to actually play more.
Right.
And then you go to an offense that, to all its credit, is very potent, despite their kind of shortcomings in the playoffs and getting far. Obviously, injuries plagued them last year. They should look better this year.
Exactly. Yeah, so that is going to be big for them. I mean, Waddle, I don't think like his injury was undisclosed, so I don't think they're really like that concerned about it. So he'll have plenty of time. He has a couple weeks before they play Jacksonville. Keith Hernandez, the guy that wrote this article, by the way, shout out to him. This guy, he's so tuned into sports news in general that like I feel like he's a robot. Like honestly, it's insane.
I just opened his like page.
Yeah,
You can like write. He has 57,841 articles.
yeah,
Bro, that's like Jesus Christ.
he is a machine. And
nuts.
On top of that, like one of the coolest guys too. Like working with him has been amazing. He's one of the head guys at Rotoballer. The guy is just insane. Love his work. But yeah, so Waddle coming back. That's great to see. Let me go back to the main page here.
His Twitter picture is also excellent.
Yes,
it's just him in a tank top holding his very small dog, but approve.
Also, just saw this. This just came up 2 minutes ago. Chase Edmonds placed on season-ending injured reserve. So that sucks. But if we're in terms of the Bucks, I mean, obviously you have White, you have Bucky Irving now. After that, who else does Tampa Bay have?
All right, hold on. So they have. I'll bring them up. I'll have their depth charts up and everything. So starting at the moment is Rachaad White.
Right.
Sean Tucker they have marked in the 3rd spot.
Sean Tucker. I forgot about him.
Yeah, and he's still a young guy, so. But it's another funny case. They are just small at that position.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bowling balls, and I appreciate that because obviously I did my video on Bucky Irving. Thank you to everybody who watched that. It's the most viewed video we have for some reason.
Yeah, that thing blew up.
Love that guy. Sean Tucker is listed 5'9", 205. That's a thick dude.
Damn.
Like I'm
He's
like 5'9"-ish. Yeah, I'm like 5'9"-ish, and he's got 35 pounds on me, which is intense. So
yeah.
Yeah. Because Rashad White, they have at 6 foot 214, so he's easily their biggest, like easily.
Right.
Bucky's like 5. Yeah, Bucky is not 5'9". Brother, our lads, what are we listing here? Hold up. Bucky Irving is not 5'9". I will fight to the death on this.
I was about to say, I thought he was.
He looks so much shorter than that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Is he actually 5'9"?
Yeah, it looks like he is 5'9".
He just built like a tank, then all his weight is actual muscle. Hell yeah.
Didn't realize his name was actually Marquise.
Let's get his let's trademark it. His new nickname is Mighty Mouse. We'll steal it from the UFC guy.
Gotta be. I mean, one of my favorites is still was Doug Martin, the muscle hamster.
That is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
One of the most legendary nicknames.
I got into collecting sports cards his rookie season, 2012.
Uh-huh.
So like that was a name that always just stuck in my head because that year was obviously nuts to jump in. Collecting. Yeah. It was literally RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Doug Martin was a big name. If you were like if you wanted one of the QBs, but if you didn't get one, Dougie was not bad.
And he got drafted by the Bucks, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
That's why it's perfect too, because like the nicknames for guys that honestly, now that we're thinking about it, a lot of the Bucks running backs did have like incredible nicknames. You had Cadillac Williams.
Oh, I forgot about Cadillac.
That's one that always sticks in my head. Obviously, LeGarrette Blount was drafted by them too, I believe.
I think so.
And I know he had some. I mean, he's had multiple. Obviously,
Mike Allstott was the A train. Yeah,
that's. Come on, and his was so fitting too because you could not one-on-one Mike Allstott.
God no.
he was out there to take souls. So
one of the best, if not the best, fullback of all time.
I would say the best, I think.
I would lean towards that too.
I don't really like there's obviously other greats, but it's just like his body of work and then the highlight reel and then the longevity. Like he was good for a long time. It wasn't just like a flash in the pan.
Oh yeah. He had like 2 seasons where he essentially was like the starting running back, but was still considered a fullback.
Yeah, because he was too thick to be a halfback.
Yeah.
Like he's a big boy. It wasn't like a Peyton Hillis kind of situation where it was like, oh, he's Madden cover, and then he vanished from the face of the earth. But yeah, I think if any of the running backs they have in their current room deserve a nickname, it's going to be Bucky Irving for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree.
He's built different, so.
So to go around, so Hollywood Brown still not practicing. I think that was pretty much expected, especially with the whole sternoclavicular injury. He had to spend some time at the hospital, I believe, for a while. So that was a big thing. So in a corresponding move, I don't remember if I had it up here, but I can scroll to it real quick. The Chiefs signed Juju Smith-Schuster. The news is somewhere. There it is. Oh, I wrote this one.
Hey. Hell yes.
Yeah, so Juju heading back to Kansas City. We were talking about him before we hit record, and obviously he was in that Super Bowl with the phantom hold call against the Philadelphia Eagles. That was also the last year that he was really any relevant at all. Because last year with the Patriots, it was just a terrible season for him and the entire team. I mean, as you can see on the screen for those watching on YouTube, he only caught 29 of 47 targets for 260 yards and 1 touchdown in 11 games.
Yeah. And
and
here's
then
how we know it was a bad year for the whole team. There were probably more targets that were intended to him, but they missed by so much that the NFL couldn't actually call them targets. That's
exactly
100% my guess. So
I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, he comes to the Chiefs. Obviously, Hollywood Brown, waiting to see how his shoulder is. Hollywood Brown has dealt with a lot of injuries over the last 4 seasons, so there's a lot of risk involved there. But when you add him to the team, you still got Travis Kelce, who's going to take up a lot of targets. Xavier Worthy has shown to be pretty damn good, and obviously as a rookie, I mean, it'll be a little up and down, but with a guy like Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, probably more up than down. And Rashee Rice, who we hasn't been suspended or anything, so at this point, I guess it's just he's playing.
Yeah.
So I guess kids, you can still race cars and get a DUI, but still play football. So
it's the Georgia way as well, as we've learned.
Yes,
but
exactly.
The Denver Broncos.
Yeah,
it's not like big news or anything. But I think it'll be some interesting guys kind of in the market for people. They want to add
moves.
Depth after post-cut, like after cuts and everything. I think Samaje Perine would be a good third stringer on a lot of teams that want some depth, a guy who can catch out of the backfield. He's not incredible, but he's been in the league for a minute. And then obviously Tim Patrick hasn't played in the regular season in 3 years. So we have kind of no clue at all what his health really is. Like he's injured his legs pretty severely. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if they even find a trade partner for that. If they don't, they'll probably just release him. And we'll see what happens there. I'll probably get a practice squad spot somewhere. So
most likely. I mean, especially for teams that are just kind of rebuilding and looking for kind of like a flash in the pan or like a diamond in the rough type of deal, they might as well give them a little shot, see what happens. For the Broncos, go ahead. I was just gonna say, for the Broncos, I would rather see Troy Franklin out there, just because like you drafted him, he has some chemistry with Bo Nix. Might as well give him more of the shot, but other teams could use Patrick.
Yeah, well, and it's even on that same vein too. It's like you've now committed to Bo Nix being the starter because he showed you in preseason that he's ready for this. And then you had Jarrett Stidham come out and say, "I know I'm an NFL starting QB." It's like, well, you've shown us you've been in the league for a minute and you're not a starter, so I don't really know what we're doing there. But like, love the confidence. You're going to be on the bench, and Bo Nix is in there. Give Bo every tool you have available to feel comfortable, because succeeding right now is maybe not feasible. To be realistic, we know that division's tough, but give him what you need to give him to make sure that he's not going to kind of get burnt by the spotlight, so to speak. And I mean, he played so many college games. I don't think he's going to have any of those kind of pressures. I think he's ready to go.
I mean, he's looked great so far, and
it's the right call. I think you look at who's on that roster. Nobody wants Zach Wilson in there.
No.
Just nobody. And Jarrett Stidham doesn't excite anybody. And you took Bo Nix at what, 10th over? Like top 13. You just put him in. Put him in. Let it roll. Let it breathe.
No one's expecting you to be a Super Bowl contender this year, so you might as well give him the reps.
Exactly, because if you can just get him the system, like acquainted with that, get him acquainted with the receivers. Obviously, you're going to try and build that roster better than it is, so some of the guys that are there now probably won't be there long term.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect Sutton to be there long term, and obviously Troy Franklin being on a rookie deal, you have him for 4 years for like nothing. So those two guys he can really build a rapport with on this like this rookie season. So just give it a shot. And I'm excited to see how he does because I think he's earned it.
Same. And I think Samaje Perine could definitely help anybody that needs some running back help. Like even like Cincinnati or like say Cleveland wants to throw someone else in the mix until Nick Chubb comes back or someone along those lines. Like he'll help anybody. Chance Campbell, one of the linebackers for Tennessee, he suffered a torn ACL, so that really sucks. He's out for the season. Ricky Pearsall back in a non-contact jersey. Love to see that. Want to see the rookie do well. And to go along with the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey was back on the field doing some side work. Obviously, he's ginormous for their odds to do anything next year.
You know what's interesting? I have to say this just because you're wearing Ravens, and we were just talking about two of these guys. Just typed in Perine to see his team history because I actually think he's been a Bengal before, which is another reason it would be easy for them to re-sign him with the familiarity. And then it says possible options for the Ravens based off of early reports of cuts and trade candidates. Number 1, Samaje Perine. Number 2, Matt Breida. 3, John Mechie III. 4, Tim Patrick. 5, Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then the 6th one was Max Sharping, an offensive lineman.
Okay.
I think Mechie would make a lot of sense because
I would love Mechie.
And it was the Eagles were rumored to maybe be interested, and then instead they go and shock kind of everybody, taking a division rival's number 2 receiver. Which I think the Commanders will live to regret that, just purely based off system and then obviously usage. Like, Jalen Hurts is a hell of a lot better than Sam Howell, who was what all Dotson has known thus far, and maybe a little Taylor Heineke at some point. But, like, he has to be stoked, too, because it's like you got drafted to a team that was 3rd or 4th in the division. They stayed in that bracket while you were there, and there wasn't really much you could do as one person to get them out of that. And then now you go to a team where you get to comfortably come in as the set number 3 behind 2 guys who are Pro Bowlers, basically, and you kind of just you can relax like on your routes a little bit, knowing that you're probably going to be more open than you're used to because you're not like the number 1. So
exactly. I mean, even the Eagles have a better tight end. They have a better run game, a better offensive line, which gives the quarterback more time to get throws out. Like, literally every facet is better than what he's had.
Yeah. And, like, do I think Jaden Daniels is going to succeed in the NFL? Absolutely.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's going to make this division a lot more interesting in years going forward because I think he's actually going to be really good.
Right.
But it is a matter of that team has a whole new ownership group, whole new staff, whole new everything. So it's good for Jaden Daniels because he's coming into something new with all them. So he can just grow with it as they grow with it. But for Dotson, it's like you've had changes kind of every year. Now you can come somewhere where maybe if the season goes poorly, the head coach will change, but everything else probably won't. So,
yeah. I would love Mechie to the Ravens. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I mean, I don't hate that. Especially if we throw him in as like, he would be probably like the 4th, 5th receiver. So don't hate that at all. Tylan Wallace, I would love to see more out of him to be that 4th receiver. So there's still stuff to go there. But speaking of the Ravens, they also released Russell Gage, which kind of was expected. Russell Gage really didn't do all that much. Missed all of last season while he was with Tampa Bay with the torn patellar tendon. He suffered that in training camp and then missed that whole year. He had some big moments and seasons with Atlanta, but ever since he moved to Tampa Bay, he had like 1 or 2 good games, and then that was really about it.
It was like once Matt Ryan was not his guy, it was a wrap.
Which is like you had Tom Brady.
I know, but even then, it's like Tom Brady was so used to just feeding Godwin and Evans, and then Gronk when Gronk signed. So it was tough
Yeah.
it's tough to fit in there. And then obviously they had AB for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That was it was a whole thing. But I refreshed the page to see anything new, and your boy Keith posted that Dalvin Cook will visit with the Cowboys tomorrow.
Oh.
Which he had a really rough season last season, so I don't really know what to think of that just yet. But
yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about like the Ravens should just re-sign him since they signed him for the playoff run last year, and I was like, he got like a handful of carries throughout the entire postseason. He really did not. He looks very over the hill. And if you're relying on him to be anything more than like a third string back, then I don't think that's going to be successful.
and I don't
Um,
think I like you signed Derrick Henry, and I like Justice Hill as a backup.
yeah,
I don't think you need to worry about it.
right. And Keaton
Especially
Mitchell is coming back. So,
yeah, and there's that too. And then you look at how much Lamar runs too. It's like that workload is covered. Like it
exactly.
doesn't, you know what I mean? So like if one of the top two get hurt, then yes, maybe consider looking into that market. But like at receiver, I like the trio. Obviously, I like Bateman's been steadily kind of showing some improvement, um,
Right.
especially in his routes. Aguilar is Aguilar. Like he's become a pretty reliable guy for all his quarterbacks. And then obviously Zay Flowers popped off, and I
Yeah.
love the rookie. I think he's going to get a lot more reps than people expect. Devontae Walker from North Carolina,
Agreed.
even in preseason, he looked pretty solid. So I think the Ravens are in a good spot. I don't like if Mechie becomes available by a trade or signing. I think that's a no-brainer,
Right.
especially signing because the contract would be pretty small, and even the trade it would probably take like a sixth to be real because
Yeah.
they're so deep at receiver. They don't really they can't ask for too much because on their depth chart, Mechie's not a starter. So
Their
um,
receiving core is honestly just insane.
that team is disgusting. And I was gonna say like once we get to our awards predictions, some of their guys may come up. But
I remember I was doing a news story on Ben Skowronek, and I was like, I remember like he was on the Rams, and I was like, where is he now? And then I saw he was on the Texans, and he's like third on the depth chart. He's third string for slot receiver, not just
yeah,
like. I was like, what? And then I was looking through. I was like, okay, so you got Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, Noah Brown, John Mechie, Robert Woods, Steven Sims. Then you get to Ben Scarron.
yeah. And then I'm looking, I'm like, you have Quintus Cephas, fourth string. I'm like,
Right.
the dude's been in the league for like a while. I know he's not amazing, but like he has experience enough. Like the depth is just like freaking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So and then you have Dalton Schultz at tight end. Like
Yeah, exactly. And they drafted Cade Stover.
yeah, who's just gonna come in on blocking downs and be an absolute unit. Like it's
Exactly.
bananas. So yeah, they're looking insane. And they haven't crossed my fingers, knock on proverbial wood, they haven't had any serious injuries in camp. Um
Right.
so I mean they're in a really good spot to jump into this year looking spicy.
Oh yeah. And the defense looks really fucking good. Like
And I
oh
have
yeah,
to
and they got Jimmy Ward for their strong safety. Like
yeah, Jimmy Ward, you draft Kamari Lassiter,
yep.
um, and Kalen Bullock to be your backup free safety. Like it just all these things because they were pretty set through free agency and then just how they built the team in previous years, they were able to draft for depth and get guys that were like way too good for their string, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
But it allows them then to rotate different coverage packages and defenses where all these guys can rotate and they're going to have fresh legs every down. And that's why, and especially like you have D'Amico Ryans as your coach, like the defense is going to be headhunting and you just let CJ Stroud do his damn thing because he can just run an offense. He's so
Right.
level-headed, so smart. Yeah, this is a team, like, if they're on national TV, obviously I'm watching, and I will watch the replays if they're not, because I want to see these
Oh,
guys
yeah.
play football.
And I forgot they got Aziz Al-Shaair and Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, the Daniil Hunter thing is ridiculous, because it's like I think he was the biggest name, especially edge-wise,
Oh,
in
yeah.
all of free agency by like a big margin, if I recall. For him to go there, I was like, A, it makes sense because he wants to win and he's going to see that potential. But B, it's
Yep.
just like, holy shit, you already got Stephon Diggs, you signed Joe Mixon, so your offense is just, it was already good, and now it's just great. And then defensively, you get this guy who is just proven, seasoned, veteran leader in the locker room. I mean,
Who's going to be opposite the defensive rookie of the year?
exactly. And you look at that and you're just like, okay. This
Just
is fair.
ridiculous.
This is fair. But I mean, that's how it
But-
goes. If a team knows how to run themselves and
Oh, yeah.
understands the business, this is what happens.
But you brought up the Cowboys because of Cook. So the big news, obviously, is that CeeDee Lamb has agreed to his 4-year extension. He was holding out for this. There was the whole thing with Jerry Jones just like being nonchalant about the whole thing, and his,
Like always.
yeah, his job has come kind of under fire, and people talking about, he's not a good GM and so on and so forth, which he really isn't, because honestly, what has he done? Second, it's like at this point, there's people calling for him to sell the team, but at this point, just let other people like run the actual team.
Yeah. Like, why can't, because I look at the Eagles as a genuine model for the way ownership should be involved. Like,
yes.
And that's just, and it's not even like, I guess I'm an Eagles fan, but like that is a part of this franchise that allows me to be as big a fan as I am. Like, the way the Lorries run this, and you see it on the draft, like they release the best draft videos, and you could see the emotion and the feeling there. Like, he has so much passion for the team, and he'll give his input, but he hires so many people to make the decisions, and that's
Exactly.
the point. Like, he's willing to give his input in the hiring process and all this because obviously he owns this thing and it matters so much to him. But he's not going to be the guy sending in the draft card or calling that in. He has people to do that. And obviously, like, the way he is with Howie now, and I don't know if you watched the Eagles like 25-minute the like inside the draft video from this year.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. Like, when they make the trade with Washington to move up to 40 and get Cooper DeJean.
Yep.
Like, they go fucking apeshit. And then he gets on the phone with Cooper and says, I really didn't sleep much last night because I wanted you here. And he's like, I want to find another owner on the phone who's saying something like that. I really do. And then obviously when we drafted Jeremiah Trotter Jr., he almost like teared up on the phone because he just like obviously loved Senior so much. So
oh yeah,
but I look at the Cowboys and I just see neglect. Like, you've owned this for so long, it's just it's a piece of property now, and it feels clear that that's what it is. Because if you really wanted to win, there's moves that you could have and should have made over the last 25 years that could have put you in a position to really do that.
Exactly.
And like, at certain times they've had position groups that were top in the NFL. Like, there was a 3-year stretch they had the best O-line, but everything behind it or outside of it was not producing to a level that it needed to be. And in that window, no moves were made to get the offense going more. Obviously, with Dak in the playoffs, it's like, I don't know how many times you need to see Dak crumble in these big games, because it is the same thing over and over again. And
it really is.
I don't care that he's a Cowboy. He could be a freaking Charger. I'd say it, because it's like you cannot it literally, it's like Groundhog Day. Like I'm seeing Bill Murray in a Cowboys jersey, reliving the same shit over and over again. And that's where we're at. So at this point, like, congrats to CeeDee Lamb, because this is a contract most people didn't expect to happen because of Jerry Jones. Right. I do believe that CeeDee has earned this for sure.
Yeah.
Since coming into the league, he's been very, very incredible. So, but
he's the best receiver they've had since Terrell Owens. Well, I guess you can throw Des Bryant in there too, but I don't know. I feel like I'd probably put CeeDee Lamb above Des Bryant.
I think CeeDee even just the first eye, like the eye test, like Des was good. CeeDee's pretty phenomenal. Like if you put CeeDee Lamb in like the Texans offense, we're looking at a guy with like easily 1,800 plus yards, probably 20 touchdowns. I mean, it's just like he runs routes so smoothly and precisely. His hands never fail him. It's annoying that he's a Cowboy as an Eagles fan, but I have to always just give credit where credit's due. He's an incredible receiver. Yeah. And then if for anybody who listens to this that does fantasy football, there's a reason he goes top 6 in every single freaking draft, and it's because he's somebody that you can lean on like a week-to-week basis. So,
and it's especially why like a lot of people are talking about him as top 3 this year, because now building off of his best season to date, he's really entering the prime of his season. He's 24, like 25. Coming off of I think he finished 3rd in Offensive Player of the Year voting last year. He was the first team All-Pro, Pro Bowl, all of that. Second team All-Pro the year before that. Like he had 135 receptions last year and was targeted 181 times.
And I think both of those will go up, because it's Brandon Cooks, who we need to see what he looks like. Right. It's Jalen Tolbert is the 3rd guy, and then I think the most likely to be the number 4 is Kavontae Turpin, who I like. But your run game is I'm sorry. You got rid of Zeke because you thought Pollard was better, and then you let Pollard walk, and you decided to bring Zeke back after a cut. Like it's weird. Your run game is going to be a disgrace. Like congrats, you drafted Tyler Guyton. Dak Prescott will get sacked two less times this year. Awesome. Your run game is going to be super questionable. Like the only 2 differences.
It's Zeke and Rico Dowd.
Yeah. I think like Royce Freeman is the depth guy. Good signing. And then obviously the dude they drafted last year, Deuce Vaughn, is healthy.
Oh, Vaughn, yeah.
So you have more bodies in the room.
Right.
But we always talk about running back, like age is a number, like an important number for like 95% of the guys. Like Zeke, we've already seen some tapering off.
Oh, big time.
You know what I mean? So we've already seen that, and then now he's 29 coming back. It's just it's different than your guys who kind of hit that upper tier, like Derrick Henry, like Saquon, obviously McCaffrey. McCaffrey's been hurt a bunch of times, but look at how good he still is, and he'll stay that good too, because he's that much of an athlete, whereas Zeke never has been really. So,
and the big thing is with a lot of those guys too is they can play a big part in the passing game, and Zeke has never been like the passing back. Now, Derrick Henry hasn't been huge in the passing game. However, he's just a freak of nature. Exactly. But yeah, so Zeke in both regards is not really like on the up and up. But I just want to say before we should probably move on and get to the division predictions. But last season, in 181 targets, CeeDee Lamb only dropped 6. And on the passer rating on passes when targeted is 124.3. That's just insane. Like that's
an insane number.
The guy's fucking good, and he deserves the money. So I'm glad he held out long enough to actually get what he did deserve. So
Well, I'm glad he held out in the face of Jerry, because
yes,
Jerry is somebody that most people don't even try to do that with, because nobody's ever succeeded before.
exactly.
And I think Jerry probably got bombarded by so many people telling him, like, this is a guy you're not going to let go because we need him. Like, genuinely need him. Like, if you remove CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys, they win like 5 or 6 games, period. Because they have nobody who's going to be able to take on that kind of target percentage. So, yeah.
Completely agreed. So with that being said, let's jump into the NFC Division predictions. Now, obviously, we've talked a lot of NFC teams already, so we can just pretty much carry a lot of that over. NFC East, near and dear to our hearts. First one that came up here. Obviously, we've been talking a lot of Cowboys, talking a lot of Eagles. We talked a little bit about the Commanders as well. The Giants, I have zero faith in Daniel Jones. I know that's not a hot take because pretty much everybody has zero faith in Daniel Jones. I feel bad for Malik Neighbors. If the Giants just like if they had any critical thinking skills. Anybody could have realized that 1 year from Daniel Jones was an outlier. Like the eye test from everything that he's done leading up to then and since then. Everything from training camp to practices to regular season games to all of that is just like he's not that guy. And why get stuck with the ticking time bomb of a contract when you could have let someone else sign him to a bunch of money and just gotten yourself a quarterback from the draft?
For real. Can I give a news update? Baseball.
Yeah.
The Phillies just walked off
Oh,
of Josh
hell
Hader against the
Oh,
Astros.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
I saw they were tied right before we started, so I didn't know how that ended up.
I kept checking because I'm like, I knew it was going into extras. I'm like, all right, please. It just says Harper singles to right, Schwarber scores. Yeah, so
That's what I'm fucking talking about.
love it. Get some wins going here so we can fucking breathe. This team is just pissing me off. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just will throw in real quick. My cursed fantasy baseball team continues.
Oh, yes, please.
Because Brenton Doyle was apparently scratched from the lineup today due to right leg soreness.
Oh no. Put some ice on it, son.
So yeah.
Well, here's another good reason for the Phillies win, right? I looked up at the MLB scoreboard. In the second inning, the Atlanta Braves lead the Minnesota Twins 9-1. Don't know who was pitching for Minnesota, but Jesus Christ.
I do because he's on my fantasy team.
Oh, well, he had a really, really bad time.
It was Bailey Ober.
It was Ober for him before it even began.
And I think he's one of their top pitchers this year too.
Tough. Yeah, I gotta click on him. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, his ERA is a 3.54, and he's 12-5. And this is in Minnesota, so all the people who were like, "Yeah, let's go see the Twins play a good team." Oh boy. Not a good. Oh, interestingly enough. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at his past 5 starts before tonight. He won 4 straight and then lost to a game. He doesn't get credited for the loss. He went 6 innings against San Diego, gave up 3 runs. So this is very out of character. But yeah, there's your brief baseball update. Also, the Cubs have put up 15 runs on the Pirates because, of course, they have.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little shocking scrolling down and seeing that my starting pitcher has an ERA of 40.5.
That's tough. That's tough. Oh.
Anyway.
Oh, no. Jesus. I think if we're looking at the NFC East, I think realistically, and I think you would agree with me here, You are you're swapping the bottom two,
Yes.
and you're swapping the top two with each other. And I think we could probably breathe with that. I think Washington has a chance if Jaden Daniels is actually like that good right away. They could fight for second. But I think the Giants literally are going to struggle to win a divisional game this year, genuinely.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I think the Cowboys, like on paper, because their defense 100% are better than Washington.
Oh,
but it's a matter of like, will they score the way they've been able to score? Because they did put up 509 points last year. I have to give them all the credit in the world for that. That's a shitload of points.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe number one in the entire NFL. So congrats.
I can look right now.
It was close.
Yes,
to
it
one.
was.
It was. So yeah. Like congrats to that. It's going to look different this year. We've acknowledged. I mean, we know Washington's going to be better because they genuinely can't be worse. Because I think their offseason has actually been pretty solid.
Here's my concern about, like, in my head, I want to flip Washington and New York. However, Washington's defense is sus. And I know they've tried to address some things on defense, but obviously they were a little more offensive minded in terms of, like, getting Jaden Daniels, bringing in some offensive line help. They even added a tight end. Like, I like Ben Sennett. And they brought in Austin Eckler. So, like, they still had a pretty big mind for the offensive side of the ball. And on defense, like, there's a couple guys on here that I like. Like, I really like Frankie Louvu. I like that move a lot. They bring in Bobby Wagner. I mean, how good is Bobby Wagner going to be? I'm not sure. Because he's been in the league a minute.
I'll give him the credit, though. He led the league in tackles last year.
True.
It's one of those, like, is 1 year going to take away that kind of production? I don't know. But you signed Jeremy Chin, you signed Michael Davis, you draft Mike Sainristil, you signed Cleveland Farrell, Doran Saw. Like, they're trying.
Like Deshaun Newton. Like, they definitely have gotten some people.
Dante Fowler Jr. as a rotation guy in the edge.
Right. Like Jordan McGee to back up Bobby Wagner.
And it's like you can see, like, undrafted and then drafted. Like, there's a lot of names everywhere, but especially on defense for depth. Like, they had to do it. Obviously, you had some really big names. Their two biggest names, frankly, Chase Young and I'm forgetting his name. He went to the Bears. D-tackle. Hold on. You know who it is too, because he's a beast.
Definitely
Montez
know
Sweat.
who it is.
Montez Sweat.
Yes.
So, like, you lose those two, and that's painful. Like, we know that's painful because obviously they were like the longer term mainstays. They've been there a while,
right?
Especially Sweat, because I think Young never hit the potential he was supposed to have, whereas Sweat, I think, did produce for what he was supposed to. I just, what I see as a depth chart is a good direction. And, like, you get rid of Dotson, you don't get a ton back, to be honest. A lot of, like, the funniest thing was the dude trying to do that trade on Madden, and it literally said no. Because the Eagles needed to give more. But obviously in real life, not the case because Howie. But Terry McLaurin is Terry McLaurin. I think he's a stud, and I think he's going to be really good now. If Eckler stays healthy, that's beyond massive as a 1-2 with Brian Robinson. Like, even Jerry McNichols doesn't suck. So, like, there's some bodies.
Right.
And then you just let Mariota just train Jaden Daniels, literally. Don't let him ever see a football, but just have him be the veteran leader in the QB room. Have Zach Ertz talk up Ben Sinnott while he's there. Because obviously he is in the twilight of his career. Love Zach Ertz, but tight ends, he's been in the league. This is his 12th or 13th season, which is beyond impressive. That's awesome.
Right.
but we'll see. They drafted what is going to be their starting left tackle, and it was a 3rd-round guy. So that's a big question mark there, because usually starting tackles are early 1st round or they're not at all. And then Luke McCaffrey apparently is maybe going to be listed ahead of De'Ami Brown on the depth chart based on things I've seen recently. So
I could see it.
We'll keep an eye on that, but it will be a case of they need to put the guys on the field and genuinely pull no punches. Whoever's not playing well, get them out and just try and field the best they have, regardless of feelings. And I think they could be 3rd in this division. I wouldn't call it crazy to say they could have a winning record. I really wouldn't, because I think Jaden Daniels is actually that good. But divisionally, I think they definitely finish ahead of the Giants, just because Daniel Jones is that much of a handicap. Like, they have weapons and they cannot use them.
Yeah, it doesn't do you that much if you can't get them the ball.
Exactly. Like, when I look at the Giants depth chart, right? Like, Neighbors is a stud. Wan'Dale Robinson is a really good player. Right. Darius Slayton has been reliable for years. And then Jalen Hyatt, we haven't seen much yet, but it's also because obviously he had like 3 quarterbacks last year in that whole mess of injuries. You had Tommy DeVito out there. Like,
right.
It was a mess. They made their O-line better. Like, they signed 3 guys. Obviously,
which is still huge, because Danny Jones was getting sacked a lot.
John Runyon, great signing at guard. Jermaine Illuminor, great signing at tackle. Like, they basically took the left side or the right side of Vegas's line, in free agency.
Right.
Like, we have a lot to see from them, but I'm just like, you're not going to have the receiving out of the backfield. I love Devin Singletary. I think he's a great running back. He will give you rushing yards for sure. But I don't think you'll have the receiving out of the backfield unless you really are including Eric Gray or Tyrone Tracy a lot.
Right.
And Tracy's a rookie, so a 5th-round rookie. So it's really, how much do you want to do that right away? And that's where I have these question marks, because I'm like, they're going to have more sacks. That I'll say. That'll actually say without question, because Brian Burns being traded to the Giants is humongous for them.
Oh, yeah.
That's big. So their D-line's actually scary, but we'll see.
So I looked up real quick just to see kind of like where Washington and the Giants defenses are kind of ranked. And on PFF, they didn't rank the entire defensive unit, but they ranked each part of the defense. So they ranked it with secondary, linebackers, and then defensive line.
I like that better, actually.
I do too. And it's funny because in secondary and defensive line, the Giants and Commanders are ranked next to each other in both of those rankings.
Excellent.
The linebacker rankings are actually where they find a bit of separation. But secondary, Commanders are ranked 30th. The Giants are ranked 31st. So essentially it's saying like the Commanders' highest graded returning coverage player from last year is Jartavius Martin. He had a coverage grade of 58.8. And he's their highest grading returning guy.
How about for the Giants?
And I just want to say I forgot that the Washington also lost Cam Curl. That's a big loss at safety because Cam Curl was very, very good. And they also lost Kendall Fuller from the cornerbacks.
Yeah.
And so obviously they also have a new coach. And like you said, they drafted Mike Sanrislo out of Michigan, and Michael Davis comes from LA. But there's still a lot to go around there.
It's three guys out of the 4, or 3 out of the 5 that will be replaced. Like,
yes,
because obviously Mike Sanders still is going to be the starting nickel. Davis will be the starting, I guess, right, and then Benjamin St. I don't even know how to say his name. Is it St. Juice? St. Jew?
I think it's St. Just. I don't know.
I think it's St. Just. He's starting there. It's his 4th season. Like, I'm not going to call this. I would never call their that group elite.
Right.
But I just look at their starting. I look at their starting group, and 6. I think. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. 7 out of the 12, I think, that are listed here, 12 or 13, because obviously it's different packages. You're not always going to have your nickel on the field.
Right.
Are new guys. So they're trying to completely reset it, because obviously they've seen these numbers and they understand ranking wise, they were not good. And
yeah,
things have got to change, especially given the Eagles and Cowboys kind of flip-flopping of division wins. These 2 teams in Washington and New York are the teams that are really trying to catch up and push through a wall that's been there. And it's tough because obviously with the Eagles, their core players are all on contracts for a while now. So
exactly.
Washington is the one team, the way where they're at right now, position wise, cap space wise, everything, that they could be the long-term threat because they can build this the right way. Obviously Dallas is kind of in a cap shithole, and we know that.
Right.
And then the Giants are in the same deal because you gave Daniel Jones all that fucking money. So yeah, I just, Washington has the upside. I think they could easily take the 3rd spot, because I think they could beat all 3 of the divisional teams. Washington always gives the Eagles the fits in the Washington the games they host. Dallas on the road potentially, because you look at even their record last year, they didn't lose at home, but they were 4-5 on the road, so obviously they're just not the same.
Right.
And they could definitely beat the Giants. So it'll be very interesting. I am genuinely curious, but I think Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants is the order that I want to think on paper, and just based on how it feels right now.
I would agree with that. I'll just say real quick.
Yeah.
The only team ranked below the Commanders and Giants for the secondary rankings was the Cardinals. And then for linebackers, Washington was actually ranked 17th, mainly just because they added Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. And then the Giants linebacker core was actually ranked 5th by PFF.
Their linebackers are very good.
Yeah, mainly because Bobby Okereke, he had a 78.9 PFF grade. He was ranked 13th in the position last year. Then Micah McFadden was also ranked pretty high. And on top of that, Isaiah Simmons, who, granted, has not lived up to being a top 10 draft pick, still was a very good coverage linebacker and still played some solid snaps for them as well. And then when it comes to defensive line, Giants ranked 18th, Commanders ranked 19th.
Okay. I think the Giants have the edge there this year for sure.
Oh yeah, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. Those are 2 very nice pieces for the defensive line.
Yeah, you've Dex in the middle, Burns and Thibodeau on either edge. That's scary as shit. Yeah, I think that might be their strongest overall position group, is their just defensive line. Oh, yeah. They brought in a good, and to their credit, I think they brought in a really good D coordinator too. There's it's easier to get more info on them because they were the Hard Knocks team, so you kind of see their thought process. But they wanted Burns bad, and went and got him. So
yeah, which props to them on that. But yeah, overall, I agree with the finish for this division. Like I said, I want to put Washington 3rd. There's just some things that I hesitate on, but I'm still gonna put them 3rd. But I completely agree with Eagles 1st, Cowboys 2nd. Obviously, the one big question mark for the Eagles will be how their defense is going to look, and I expect it to be improved. But it's obviously going to have some fluctuation with a lot of rookies there and a lot of change and new defensive coordinator and so on and so forth. So we'll see about that. NFC North. To me, the only change I'm making is the Bears go to third. But I think Detroit stays first, Packers stay second. Then, like I said, Detroit third and Minnesota fourth. I mean, it's hard to put Minnesota anywhere but fourth with all of the bad luck that they have had this offseason.
And they've had the worst luck, and it is a shame because we are fans of the teams that we're fans of. Like, I'm an Eagles fan, he's a Ravens fan. We just love football, though, and we want to be able to see all these teams field what they have at their best. And for the Vikings, we're not even at the regular season yet, and I don't really believe that they can do that. So it is a shame. Even Addison's been a little banged up too, so it's just tough. But
yeah,
I like the one team in this division that I like. The Vikings, I think we can set. They're fourth.
Right.
The Packers and the Bears, I think, will compete a lot for that second spot, actually, because even look at where the Bears were, right? Like, we think, like, oh, horrible year. They were knocking, like, one game difference. You know what I mean? Like, the Packers lose one of those 9 instead of win it, and the Bears win one of those 10 instead of lose it, and they're tied. I mean, we're close. So, and the Bears' absolute overhaul of this roster is different than most years you actually get to see. So
that's true.
Like, I'm looking, you had problems in the run game. All right, you brought in DeAndre Swift. You had problems in your receiving core. Okay, you literally got rid of basically everybody but DJ Moore. You extended him, and then you draft Rome Odunze and sign Keenan Allen. And then you bring in Caleb Williams, the first overall pick. Cole Kmet's a good tight end. You sign Nate Davis at right guard. You sign Coleman Shelton to be your center. Like, they went nuts. You bring in Gerald Everett to be backup tight end. Dude's been in the league for a million years. Mercedes Lewis to be third string, league for a million years.
DeAndre Swift.
It's just like they genuinely did so much. Because they like, and even I saw this list the other day. The biggest markets in the NFL, money wise or like viewership wise per game, Chicago's third. And the only reason they're third is because 1 and 2 are cities with 2 teams. It was New York and LA. So realistically, if you divided both of the 1 and 2 in half, Chicago would be what those halves are. They understand how much football matters, especially with what that city has right now. Like, the Blackhawks have been rebuilding for years. The Cubs haven't been the same since the World Series. The Bulls are not good.
Done shit since Michael Jordan.
And the White Sox are literally vying for the worst season in the history of baseball. So, like, the Bears are the one franchise in that city right now that is understanding somebody needs to fucking win. And to their credit, they're trying. Like, Tremaine Edmonds brought in, obviously, last year. That was a big deal because I think he's staying there for a while. They snatched TJ Edwards from the Eagles last offseason. That one still hurts because obviously the Eagles, since that linebacker, have been pretty shite.
He's been really good.
And like injury riddled. But this team, if Caleb Williams comes in looking locked in, they do have that kind of weaponry on offense to make some noise. Genuinely, like, that receiving trio is pretty bananas. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they have all styles.
I really like Chicago's secondary, and their secondary, not only are they solid, but they're still pretty young. I mean, a lot of these guys are drafted like 2023, 2022. I think the oldest one, if you don't count Kevin Byard, because obviously they just signed him, is Jalen Johnson, who was signed in 2020. Like,
and that's a big deal. Well, yeah, it's like you drafted a guy in 2020, right? So he's only known Bears football.
Right.
He's never known anything else, and he's been good the whole time. Like, that's ideal situation for any team. You bring in Jonathan Owens from Green Bay. Obviously,
Yep.
you see him play twice a year. You know what he's giving you. And it's just perfect, ideal depth behind Brisker because Brisker's a stud. So, I mean, it is.
Oh, yeah. I
This-
really
this
like
team
Brisker.
has
I
some
really like
talent.
Kyler Gordon. Like, those guys are up there. And yeah, like, PFF has Chicago's secondary ranked 19th, but it says, like, this unit could be extremely good if it plays to its high-end abilities. Like, the potential of this secondary is crazy. And that doesn't even give any justice to the rest of the team. But like you said, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Montez Sweat. Like, there's a lot of guys on this team that are really good on the defensive end. And then you get to the offensive end where they did the most of their offseason work. So I mean, I definitely see where you're going with the whole like Chicago can compete with Green Bay, especially because to me, Green Bay, I really like their offense. I like Jordan Love. I think he's a very solid quarterback. Obviously, he's had one season so far. That's like he's the guy. What are you going to do with it? Had a good season, but now we need to see consistency.
Yep.
They do bring in Josh Jacobs, which is a lot different than just running with the same old that they've been doing the entire time.
Their 1-2 punch of power is insanely strong now, is the only thing I want to say. Because him and AJ Dillon are tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Luke Musgrave, solid. And then even after that, Tucker Kraft, also solid. But the when we talk about receiving cores, Green Bay's receiving core is very, very good too. I mean, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks has been like turning heads this offseason after his rookie year last year. And then you get to different guys like apparently Bo Melton has been pretty good this offseason in this training camp. Malik Heath is there. There's still some other players in the end of the depth chart that maybe they make it, maybe they don't, but the receiving core is very talented. We just talked about the weird trade too of Malik Willis coming in to Green Bay to be the backup quarterback now. I mean, hopefully they don't need to use him at all. But
I was gonna say when you see the depth chart, it makes a little more sense though, just because like without him, your second string was gonna be a 7th round rookie.
True.
Or Sean Clifford. So in my head, I'm like, okay, you saw that he was having a good preseason. You don't need to send them much to get him. You bring him in here. If you need him, you use him. If you don't, you're probably happy about it. But it makes more sense now looking at what they had.
Agreed.
So.
And like the defense is okay. I mean, the secondary is usually decent, especially like with Xavier McKinney, Jair Alexander.
They brought him in. That was a big deal. He got.
Yeah.
Isn't it one of the biggest safety contracts ever? Or the biggest?
It might be. I'm not sure.
And he earned it because even on the Giants, which we already talked about, where they were really not like. You'd watch a Giants game and they were usually pretty dismal. He was always a bright spot because the defense was really who had their stars that would show up in a game in a way that would like matter for the scoreboard at the end because the offense couldn't do much.
Right.
So you would talk about the Giants defense more, and McKinney going from there to Green Bay for him, I think was really smart because Green Bay obviously made the playoffs.
Yep.
Played very well in both games. And I mean, like defensively, I think they did improve. They obviously have some mainstays. That's one of the things I do like about Green Bay's defense is like Kenny Clark's been there since 2016, Rashawn Gary since 2019. Like those guys have been in this for so long. Winning for Green Bay matters. It's not just like a stop on their career at this point. So.
And Green Bay secondary wise is ranked 8th. Xavier McKinney had a 91.2 coverage grade last year.
he is an insanely gifted safety.
ridiculous. And then defensive line wise, they're ranked 11th. Their weakness is linebacker, where they're ranked 29th because Quay Walker has yet to record a season long 60 PFF grade, according to them.
But then
And he
you
had
look
some
at what
positive.
they drafted.
Right.
Go ahead.
Then you have Edgerrin Cooper, who looks to start alongside of him. And I mean, also Tyron Hopper. So there's a lot of question marks there. The one positive about Quay Walker is that he did improve his missed tackle percentage. As a rookie, he missed 10.1% of his tackles,
Holy
and
shit.
last year went down to 7.6%. So, I mean, still not great, but
over the course of a season, you would feel the difference there.
Yeah,
like you'd feel it. Like, so if he can keep improving on that,
agreed.
That Edgerrin Cooper pick was one of my favorite picks of the entire draft.
Yeah, that's a very nice pick.
Because everybody kind of predicted they were going to move up to take Cooper to Gene. Then they didn't do it because the Eagles did it first. And then they didn't move then. They just sat and Edgerrin Cooper fell in their lap. And for them, it was huge because it was one of, if not their biggest need. Obviously, they took Jordan Morgan in the first, got a little criticized because usually you don't draft guards in the first. But if they believe in a guy enough, and obviously O-line being maybe the most important thing outside of quarterback to have right, because without the O-line, it doesn't matter what QB you have.
Right.
Like, if that was the one spot you felt you needed more than anything else, go get it. They did. I think you and I agree the Lions should finish first because I don't think they got worse. If anything, they just got better.
I really like
Chicago will fight for the 2 and 3. We'll see, obviously, how that pans out. That battle might be over by midseason. Who knows? Minnesota shouldn't be anything. They should. On pay, I know receiving core is incredible. Right now, it's Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And then if Darnold gets hurt, they have Nick Mullins, and they are chalked. Like, let's be crystal clear. So it is what it is. I wish it wasn't like this. I wish JJ was there to get to play, but it's how good. Excuse me. The burp is living in my throat. This is how it goes sometimes. They shored up their defense. The Vikings did. They signed so many people. It's actually obnoxious. Jonathan Bullard, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Stephon Gilmore was like last week, Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy Jr. Like they went nuts in free agency over the last couple of years to really try and obviously replace Danielle Hunter, who left this year.
Right.
You can't predict an injury to the quarterback you took in the first round. And even his injury is something we haven't seen like in like a QB taken in the first round has not missed their first full season due to injury in like 40 years or something like that I've seen.
But not just that, you can't predict that you're going to draft a defensive back and he dies.
Yeah, like literally everything for the Vikings that could go wrong kind of has, to a degree that's just truly shocking.
Like that shit is devastating and heartbreaking. Like completely. Not obviously for the team, but like especially for that kid's family, his dreams, everyone involved. That is just insane.
But I look at like I commend the Vikings because I think I already did see they're going to pay out his whole contract to his family.
That's awesome.
Which is a 10 out of 10 complete class organization move. I was literally going to say, like, taking the vein of, I hate the Dodgers, but they always do right by their players. Andrew Tolles has been on their payroll for like 7 seasons straight so that he can still get mental health insurance. Yeah, literally, that's awesome. Why. And but they always do that for guys. And the Vikings stepping up and doing that is like hats off if I had a hat on because it's beautiful, but heartbreaking at the same time. So,
but yeah, I think we pretty much agree. I'm saying Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota,
and I'll agree with that. And just say that Chicago, I think, with the roster they've made, could be number 2.
Makes sense.
We have to see it happen. I don't predict it necessarily. I think Green Bay is at the moment the team I would put in this 2 slot, but I think Chicago could do it. Like, they won 7 games last year. That's not horrific considering how many shortcomings they had. And they did do their best to erase those. So
that's true.
We shall see.
When it comes to the NFC South, this is probably one of like the least exciting divisions, I would say. I mean, exciting because like you honestly can't predict who's going to win this division because they're all like right near each other, but
yeah,
easily the weakest division. However, I'm going to kind of throw in some crazy shit here.
Yeah, same.
I think the Saints are going to win this division.
Okay.
Now, just looking at last year, the Bucks scraped into the playoffs. I mean, looking at the points for, points against, and point diff, the Saints deserve to get in there.
Yeah.
Their offense was better. Their defense gave up 2 more points, but their defense graded out better most of the time. Right now on PFF, the Saints secondary is ranked 10th. Linebackers are ranked 9th, but their defensive line is the one that's ranked the lowest at 24th. And Cameron Jordan, obviously still there, but I mean, you can't rely on Cameron Jordan every single time with how he's getting older. Now they did bring in some defensive help for the defensive line. I'm pretty sure that's where Chase Young ended up going.
It is.
We were talking about him earlier. Okay, yeah.
They have him behind Carl Granderson, though.
Which,
interestingly enough.
yeah, I mean, Carl Granderson's been there for a minute, and he's been solid. I wouldn't say he's anything to like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched him enough, but I feel like he's not anything to write home about. But
I think the biggest thing with the edge depth chart too is you have to expect rotation. And that's what Chase Young's best at anyway. So like that's the grain of salt position. You want depth there.
So I will say I stand corrected. Granderson on PFF was graded 37th out of 112 edge rushers. He had an 84 coverage grade as a edge rusher.
What's Willie Gay's grade? Because they signed him.
Oh, I forgot about Willie Gay. Willie Gay he had a pretty down year last year. He was graded 55.9, but the year before he was graded 68.1. His run defense is his highest grade of everything.
And maybe that's what they brought him in for.
Probably. But Granderson had his second best year last year. He was graded 74.1 overall. Run defense of 70, pass rush of 63.6. So Granderson was solid. But now you get Chase Young, who was actually great, who was actually 3 spots better than Carl Granderson in terms of PFF grading. You still got interior guys there, like Saunders. Saunders was kind of like middle of the pack last year. They bring in Shepard, who really wasn't that good last year. Well, sorry, not bring him in, but he's been there for a couple seasons. Really had a down year last year. Tano Capassigno, he's always been solid as a rotational guy. Right now on the PUP list. I definitely had to shout him out because my wife went to high school with him. They actually graduated at the same time, so she loves shouting out Tano.
Nice. Love that.
So their defense is still solid. Like I said, secondary ranked 10th, linebackers ranked 9th.
And you drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Still got the honey.
That's like another thing I have to like exactly. Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Like I look at it, they have hope. Like I don't look at this and say like, oh, it's like their defense has been solid.
And Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, and he's just been consistently solid. And then you look at the offense, you're like, okay, obviously the O-line was definitely a problem.
So they addressed it.
You sign Patrick Lucas at left guard. You draft Talise Fuaga at left tackle. These are beautiful things.
Oh yeah.
I am laughing because I'll say, since we're on the Saints, I'll say this. I think by I'll say week 7. I'll say by week 7, Spencer Rattler will be starting.
Oh, okay.
I think Derek Carr is an absolute washed bum. And New Orleans is not going to stand for it. They really didn't want to stand for it last season. They're definitely not going to stand for it for another one. And I'll keep it a buck. I've never heard of Jake Hayner, who's second on this depth chart. All I know is he somehow got suspended for fucking PEDs last year. Never heard of him, but he got suspended for some fucking shit. So I'm going to say Spencer Rattler gets in there. And I think he would do better than Derek Carr. I'm not going to lie. He actually has legs that function in some capacity.
True. I will say one of the most interesting people to watch in the NFL every time I watch a game is Taysom Hill. That man, dude. He is literally like the utility players in baseball that can play any position. He is that in football.
Did you see the interview with one of the previous coordinators from the Saints, who I think he's not there now, but he literally said there were 2 games he truly considered putting Taysom Hill on defense. Like, he was just literally like, I felt so comfortable putting him in any position that he would succeed. And there were moments where I wanted to just put him in at like linebacker because he was faster than everybody else we had that would be in the middle of the field and just go hit people. And I just started.
Honestly, I could see it.
He's not a small guy. He's 6'2", 221. Like if he hits you, you're gonna feel it. So
yeah.
I was just laughing like, oh my god.
But I mean, they even have some decent receiving. Like I like Rashid Shaheed. Obviously, Chris Olave is a beast. I like A.T. Perry. Equanimous St. Brown. I mean, he can, give you some big plays here and there. Cedric Wilson Jr. also can get you some plays here and there. Obviously, I'm biased with Bub Means being a Pitt guy. I think he's going to be a solid depth addition, at least in the first couple seasons of his career. So I'm going to say the Saints. This is where it's going to get dicey. I'm saying the Saints win. Mm-hmm. I'm saying the Falcons get second.
Yeah, well, it's Kirk Cousins actually being able to throw to the weapons they have.
True. However, I still like Tampa Bay. However, I'm putting them third and Carolina's staying fourth.
Yeah. So the other secret weapon that the Saints have on their roster is Puka Nakua's brother.
Oh, yeah. Samson, right?
Yep. And he had a couple highlights in their last preseason game that I need to watch, but I saw posts about them where he looked.
Oh, I saw the field goal return.
Yeah. I was like, okay, keep him on the practice squad. If you have to keep him that way, don't let him go somewhere.
Nope.
Don't overlook him. But I'm very intrigued because the Saints, they have talent in so many different groups. Like if Kamara and Jamal Williams stay healthy, the running back duo is elite.
Oh yeah,
genuinely elite. And then at tight end, you have Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill. And obviously, as we said, Taysom Hill, you can just put that asshole anywhere, and he will do something. So they're a very, very intriguing team, which is why I think you and I like them so much. Because I think if it's not the Falcons, I would say the Saints win this division.
Right.
And the only reason I don't even want to say the Falcons win this division is because I think their defense is still highly suspect.
True.
But then again, I have to sit here and go, you signed Justin Simmons and you traded for Matthew Judon. So your defense just got significantly better in the last week and a half. And obviously they got Jesse Bates last year, and I love Jesse Bates, former Bengal. Dude's a stud.
Oh yeah, I like him too.
But there's so much to be seen in this division. Like on paper, it seems like it might be like semi easy to kind of theorize, but even when you just list starting quarterbacks, like you said, you don't get like super excited. It's Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, and Kirk Cousins. Like it doesn't. None of them scream to you. I think what could be in Tampa's favor is obviously in the first round they drafted their starting center. Big deal. And then Jalen McMillan, their third round pick from this draft, has like absolutely put his clamps on a starting spot.
Oh yeah, he's been big time.
Hold on. Do they have Dante? No, okay, that's a white guy. Thank God. They have a Culpepper on defense. I was like, that's not Dante's kid. And I clicked it, and it's a white dude with a mustache. So I was like, fuck no.
With a name like Judge, probably from like the Bayou.
Oh, for sure. But I'm curious. This division will be fun to watch. Obviously, I think by week 5 we'll have an idea of where it's going. By week 10, I think we'll really know. Because that's usually how this division plays out. There will be 2 teams like there was last year that are really fighting for it.
Right.
Obviously, they had to determine division winner on a bunch of tiebreakers. So, yeah, because Jesus Christ, even their divisional records were the same too. That's even harder.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm very curious. I think I could agree with your order. Because I look at the Falcons and like if they actually click, I think they win easy.
Like that offense has the highest potential.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like that'll be the biggest swing because their points for last year was abysmal.
Oh yeah,
but it could be really high if that works. But we need to see it work. Because Kirk's coming off one of those injuries that guys usually don't look the same after.
True.
And he's old, so it's like, how has he really recovered? But then you look at who he's throwing to, and you kind of go, okay, maybe he's still got a chance. But
my main thing for Atlanta is they just need to upgrade the slot and like their wide receiver depth because Drake London and Darnell Mooney, I like both of them. Darnell Mooney, especially like the last time he had a steady quarterback and like was healthy, he had a pretty good season.
I'm pretty sure it was Andy Dalton, to be honest, that was actually there for that.
Like in that season that he actually, healthy, had a solid quarterback there. He had 140 targets, 81 receptions for 1,055 yards and 4 touchdowns. And a rushing touchdown. And that was in his second season in the league.
Exactly.
So like,
and then you see that target number just drop.
Right.
Like, and there's plenty of reasons for that. Obviously, like some O-line left. Fields was getting run out of the universe every single play. Their run game was suffering. Their run block, like the ability for the running backs they had then to block for the QB. Yeah, it was just a whole bunch of mess.
The defense was the worst defense in the entire league.
Yeah. So you'd have an offense on the field pretty consistently that couldn't really protect the quarterback. And if you don't have time, you're not throwing the ball well. So
yeah, Fields was sacked 55 times in that season.
Yeah, and it's like Mooney's only 26. So you have to look at this guy going like, as far as athletic primes, he's approaching that.
Exactly.
And I don't think he's lost. I really don't think he's lost much, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, he had Desmond fucking Ridder. Like Desmond Ridder was going to be his QB when he first got signed, which obviously I'm sure was not exciting.
Right. But that year right after when his targets just dropped, he was still the second most targeted pass catcher on the team behind Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet only had 69 targets. Darnell Mooney had 61 for an entire fucking season,
which is bananas. Yeah, that's actually nuts. So
yeah,
and like if you looked at him now, like if he was in Chicago, that would just he would get fought out of there anyway. So he needs to embrace the fact that he gets to be a number 2 with a quarterback as seasoned as Kirk Cousins, and who
can obviously deliver the ball given his track record.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's numbers are not what they are if Kirk Cousins was not there. Like
Right.
and we will see that this year. Period.
Exactly. Like we're gonna see a big uptick in Drake London, a big uptick in Kyle Pitts
And Bijan.
and Bijan.
Bijan's
And
PPR numbers are going to be nuts.
oh yeah, and still get a healthy dose of Tyler Algier. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's kind of how I see things filing out. So real quick, we'll hit the NFC West before we jump into the awards because we don't have too much time left. But NFC West, I mean, I still see the 49ers winning the division pretty easily. After that, I feel like it's a bit of a toss up between Seattle and the Rams. I probably lean more towards the Rams staying where they are. Which I know isn't really like anything exciting, but I will give it to Seattle. Like Seattle's secondary, I like them a lot. The Seattle secondary is really, really good. And not only that, but they bring in McDonald as the coach. And obviously, being a Ravens fan, I know what McDonald can do for a defense. I mean, he had the Ravens as like top 2 defense all year long. And if you give him weapons on defense, he will make them work. I mean, you got Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, Tariq Woolen. Like, there are plenty of guys on this defense that are going to be able to make this thing run and run well. Witherspoon was the 6th highest ranked cornerback in the entire league on PFF. So there's that. Julian Love was ranked 22nd. Kavon Wallace was ranked pretty high. Trey Brown had a solid year. Tariq Woolen, like I was saying. Terrell Dodson. He was ranked 1st out of 82 linebackers. He had a 90.2 rating last year. And they bring him into Seattle. So that's pretty huge to me. Obviously Jerome Baker, Jerron Reed, they're all there. Their biggest question marks are their defensive line, and they looked to address that a bit. They brought in, obviously they drafted Byron Murphy, which
he is a big fucking dude.
Yeah.
He's a
that's
unit
a
personified.
Bit of an addition there. Their interior defensive line is brand new. Jonathan Hankins from Dallas, Leonard Williams from the Giants. So they bring in both of them. They bring in Draymond Jones from Denver. I mean, they've made all of these changes, and there's still Nwosu from the Chargers. However, I think I don't know if he's on the PUP list or if he's just like hurt in general.
I can look it up if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it real quick. No. I think he's just injured. So I don't think, he's not on the PUP list, it says. So there's that too. So now that I keep talking about Seattle, I think I'm going to put them above the Rams because we know Seattle's offense. I mean, obviously they had a down year last year, but DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba is up there for top trio in the league. Those are 3 very good ones.
Should know behind them.
Right.
Like,
Jake Bobo actually had solid plays last year too.
Yeah. But like they have depth in a way that is you're not as nervous. Obviously, if you lose DK or Lockett, you're going to be you're going to be in up shit's creek.
Right.
Like they are your 2 workhorses. I like them at tight end as far as the duo of Noah Fant and Pharaoh Brown.
Mm-hmm.
If Kenneth Walker stays healthy, he is a fucking animal. and we know that because he's shown us. Zach Charbonnet behind him isn't horrendous either. Like they have depth in good spots. They have guys that have been there for a while, and they brought in good free agents. Nwosu will miss 2 to 6 weeks, is what I just found. So it's not
okay.
not a full season. It's a sprained MCL, so they're just going to have him not do anything crazy with that. And obviously for them, ideally they'd get him back in 2, but I think I want Seattle second. I think the Rams going 10-7. Yes, they scored 40 more points. You and I both, though, just agreed this was a down year for Seattle's offense. Yeah, their defense got better. So, like, where we see their points for and points against was being pretty rough last year, I think that completely switches. And the Rams, I don't care what you did in the offseason, Aaron Donald retired. Sorry, but he's one of the top 5 defensive players to literally ever put on a fucking uniform. And he is no longer playing football for you. That's tough.
Yeah, that's really tough.
Really good luck to Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, the 2 Florida State boys they drafted. Those shoes can't be filled. You can gaze upon the shoes and hope that they bring you luck. But yeah, I see the Rams going backwards, and I can't help that because it just, like, Cooper Kupp is he's not young anymore. Obviously Stafford's not. There's just a lot of variables, things that definitely are different. And then, like, you look past, like, obviously that DeMarcus Robinson is receiver 3. Tutu Atwell has had some games where he really stepped up, and I will give him all the credit in the world for that. If you wanted a guy to be your receiver 4, he has absolutely stepped up.
True.
After that, I don't know how to feel. You have a rookie, a 6th-round rookie, and Tyler Johnson, and then some undrafted. It's like, it is literally it's very tough to judge. And then O-line wise, you signed Jonah Jackson. That's a really good sign. Traded for Kevin Dotson. That's also good. We will see what Kyron Williams really looks like, and Blake Corum now is backup. The run game it's either going to be really good or really bad. And for fantasy owners, it's tough to judge, obviously, with Kyron Williams, because, like, offensively, I think their scheme is going to look a little different. But
I will say, tight end wise, it's a pretty big hit to still have Tyler Higbee on the PUP list, because Colby Parkinson is nowhere as good as Tyler Higbee.
No.
And Davis Allen is, like, we still don't know what he is, because last year was his rookie year, and tight ends notoriously don't grow into their role until, like, their 3rd, 4th, 5th year.
Yeah.
I will say, though,
it's rare with tight ends that they jump out at you right away.
Exactly.
Like, you have to be, like, I'll just use Dallas Goedert because he's the guy in my head. We took him in the 2nd round, and it did not take that long for him to oust Zach Ertz from the number 1 spot. And it is rare that occurs. So I completely agree. Like, if Higbee is out for extended time, that is a big deal.
Exactly.
Big deal. So,
and especially because we know Matthew Stafford likes his tight ends in the red zone.
He really likes Higbee. So
yes. But defensive wise, like, I like Ernest Jones, I like Byron Young, I like the addition of Jared Verse. I like the fact that they brought in Cam Curl. Like, that's a big addition for them too. Tre'Davious White is big back there. So, like, I still think the defense is going to take a step back, obviously, because you don't have a guy that can take on triple and quadruple teams by himself.
Yep.
It's not going to be the worst defense in the league, but it's going to take a step back. And yeah, the offense is relying strictly on, like, Matthew Stafford staying healthy, because Lord knows what happens if Stetson Bennett has to take over.
Interceptions are what happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's just a lot of risk with the Rams, and the Cardinals are getting better because obviously you're another year into Murray getting healthier, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner is still reliable, but you also bring in Benson. I mean, you also have wow, why am I forgetting the tight end's name? Trey McBride.
He's
Yeah.
Trey McBride is good. He's
Yes.
good. But
Like,
it's been
top
it's
5
been
tight end
hard.
in the league.
Yeah, and it's been hard to judge his goodness because he's had the same issue a lot of like receiving players have, where this quarterback carousel on your own team is occurring.
Exactly.
Like, tight ends become great when they build that rapport with one guy.
Right.
Where they can be the safety blanket or the guy that a QB can just know in the back of their mind on any given play they're open somewhere. And for Kyler, he needs that massively. But like what I like about what the Cardinals did is Paris Johnson Jr. was a good draft pick. And the other 4 offensive linemen are free agent signings either this year or last year.
Yep.
And their understanding of what it means, like what really is required to win is becoming more visible. Like they drafted a guard in the 3rd, so they have depth at that position. You draft Trey Benson, so you have a backup running back now, because I actually really, really like James Conner.
Oh, I love James Conner.
When he's healthy, that dude is so good at yards after contact. Like he eats hits and says, "Thank you, I would like another, please," and gets 5 more yards on you. And I love that. But this is going to be another case of, if Kyler gets hurt, the Cardinals literally will not win anything. Period.
Nope.
Like, if Kyler's hurt, they have Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder. Chalked, my guys.
Beyond chalked.
This is that true, like, every QB has one of these years where you can just look and go, this is the year you decide the course of your career. And for Kyler, this is 100% it. Like, yes, they got rid of Hollywood Brown. Who cares? You brought in Marvin Harrison Jr., who is genuinely a prodigy. And by all accounts has looked as good as advertised throughout all the camps and everything. And they were not stupid enough to put him on the fucking field. He played 3 snaps in preseason. Only one of them he actually ran a route, because they were like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, we're not
too important. This. Yeah, and I like the depth. Like, you have Michael Wilson, who's this is his 2nd year.
He's been solid.
Yeah, and even in his 1st year, you could see flashes of, this guy belongs in the NFL. And then, like, Greg Dortch, he's been in the league long enough that I'm like, all right, just put him in. Zach Pascal, same deal, been in the league long enough. Chris Moore, same deal. So it's like, you have a true number 1 who's young you can build with. Your O-line is either young or signed. So what you're going to do is continue drafting those.
Yep.
Because you'll be paying less on that too. The running game, I don't have any issues with. I think that's a really good duo. Tight ends, you're set. The defense is the thing that literally for so long they've just been like Swiss fucking cheese.
And it's like not looking any better.
No.
Like I love
Murphy Bunting starting is horrifying.
Yeah. And I love Buda Baker, but also he's 7-8 years in the league now. And also on PFF, the Cardinals are ranked 32nd.
Yeah.
In secondary, linebacker, and defensive line. All 3, they are ranked dead last. And
there's like no way we can like disagree with it, is there?
No, because I'm gonna keep it real. I'm looking at the defensive line names, and I'm like, I don't recognize any of them.
I know Bilal Nichols because he was a Raider,
which makes sense,
and like that's why I know him. And Justin Jones because he was a Bear. Because Justin Jones is actually, as far as I remember, he's okay.
I probably know who Justin Jones
that you just said.
Is. The name just isn't ringing a bell.
Like Dennis Gardeck, no idea. Kaiser White, I remember not being good for the Eagles, and now he's there as a starter again. Like, like it's interesting. But I have to look at the Arizona Cardinals as like they know they're building from a pretty low bar, right?
Right.
And it's very evident that this year they said we're building the offense because Kyler is the guy we drafted really high. We have to give him the things to work with and protect him so he doesn't keep getting hurt. That's
Exactly.
crucial. Totally understand that. And then, but it'll be a big case of this coming off season. Are we going to really use draft capital and free agency capital on the defense to get it somewhere? Because
Yep.
like, I remember the years when Carson Palmer was there, their defense was not bad. It wasn't just the offense was clicking. Their defense could compete to a level that they were winning playoff games. And you have to have this kind of balance on both sides to be able to succeed in this league. And that division obviously is one of the tougher ones as far as the quarterbacks in it. Like, obviously Purdy's still a question mark, but the weapons that he's able to utilize, like, he's done the job to a point where they are winning a lot. You know what I mean? Especially divisional, like 5-1. But I look at Geno. He obviously had his career resurrection out in Seattle, and it's going well. Stafford, he's going in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how anybody disputes that at this point. Like, so many of these receiving records were made while Stafford was QB. So,
and I will say the defense when Carson Palmer was on the team and like they had the really good team in 2015, you had guys like Tyrann Mathieu, Calais Campbell, Patrick Peterson, Justin Bethel, Tony Jefferson, Deion Buchanan. Like,
and you know what they were all at that time? Young,
making Pro Bowls. 2 of them made first team All Pro.
I was going to say 2015 Patrick Peterson was like the scariest corner in the NFL. Like,
yeah. Like, you had 2015 Patrick Peterson and 2015 Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, Young. That was his third season. That was Honey Badger's third season. So he is literally just like young, energetic, hungry. I mean, we missed that in Arizona because when the Cardinals are good, I feel like football's been good.
Yeah.
Like their playoff matchups that I mean, they stick out in my head because there's the one where Aaron Rodgers hits those 2 Hail Marys, but the Packers don't win that game.
Right.
The Cardinals do because Larry Fitz played hero. And it's like, you forget that they were really competing for deep runs, and they were a team that, like, if you had to play them, you were kind of scared.
Like, they made the Super Bowl and lost to the Steelers, didn't they?
In 2008.
Yeah.
And they should have won that game. They really should have won that game. I mean, that Santonio Holmes catch is perfect, but
wasn't that also the one where James Harrison ran back like that crazy ass return?
It was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched.
That Super Bowl was insane. I remember it being insane.
It was annoying as shit too, though, because obviously the Eagles were in that NFC Championship against Arizona and took the lead with like fucking 2 minutes left. And Larry Fitz in his fucking perfect hands.
Larry Fitz is a fucking legend.
Another pit legend, man.
Hell yeah.
You look through the history of the NFL and you see these dudes and you're like, it actually blows my mind, though. It's like Aaron Donald, Pitt. LaShawn McCoy, Pitt. Larry Fitz, Pitt. Dan Marino, Pitt. You're like, what the fuck?
Darrell Revis.
Yeah, but it's like you look at this. They're at the upper tier. They're in the suites of all these player groups. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, Marino is in my head a top 4-ish QB. I don't care about rings. If you take rings out of it, he was as good as it really can get.
I mean, Mike Ditka also went to Pitt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come on.
Tony Dorsett.
The greatest mustache in history.
Seriously, though.
It was thick.
But I can only wish to get a mustache like that.
I mean, yeah, you know what? Actually, I need to look this. Yeah, and Tony Dorsett is also a really good pull. Notable Pitt.
But there's even like when you don't look at like the superstars at Pitt, there's like even very good, like, to use a basketball term, like role players, like Jason Pinnock, the safety for the Giants. You got also Tyler Boyd.
Well, that was another one because I look at Tyler Boyd and I'm like, you've been reliable everywhere you've played.
Yep.
Period. And
I mean, we were also just talking about him, but James Conner.
Yeah. But that's half the reason I even like him. Because he went to Pitt and then he started with Pittsburgh, like obviously Steelers had a lot of health issues. So the fact that he's even made a career last this long is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Whitehead, who currently plays for the Bucks.
Yep.
I mean, they've obviously produced over the years, but there's a name, Darnell Dinkins. That's a bummer, my guy.
They have some good names. Like Bub Means is just such a strong name.
Oh yeah, Bub.
They also had Dion Lewis.
Excuse me? Hold on. Is this from just the city of Pittsburgh? It has to be, right? Or am I delusional?
A lot of people came from the city of Pittsburgh, that's for sure.
Hold up. All right, I have some investigation to do because one of the guys on this list actually, if he went to UPitt, this other list I looked at really fucked up and not including him. So one moment.
I'm curious who this is.
Yeah, I need to see his college. Holy Okay, this list needs to be erased from the internet because they failed to include Curtis Martin.
Oh yeah.
Come on, bruh. He was also born there, which is why I had to question that. But he went to Pitt. He had 14,000 career rushing yards, and we're not included. Okay, yeah. Whoever made the other one I looked at first, they're fired.
Dude, it's
fired. But yeah, good school.
Yeah. Jordan Addison did go to Pitt until he went to USC too.
Yeah, but then I double like him because I'm a USC fan.
True.
He was even easier.
There's been I feel like a lot of the defensive guys lately have been like the Pitt guys, making more noise because like their offense just hasn't been able to really do much. Especially like the best quarterback Pitt has been Kenny Pickett, and obviously we know what he's been in the NFL.
Yeah. So,
but
I agree with that. But it's like it's never bad. It's never bad for your school to be like noted as like producing specific things.
Oh yeah.
Penn State was linebacker U for forever.
Right.
Like that was like their thing. And then obviously you have Iowa who they make tight ends. They make linebackers. They like their defense and tight ends. Like we know them for that.
Yeah.
Because you watch an Iowa freaking Hawkeyes football game, you're expecting 7 or 10 points, and probably some of them were scored by the defense. So, like,
oh yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree. Like recently, hopefully Pitt can get back into winning football.
Yeah, they've been making more noise, so hopefully it comes at some point, but we'll see. But yeah, I think we'll probably just do the awards next time because we're already at 2 hours here.
I'd be happy with that because we're done with the divisions now.
Yeah.
So we can just do awards, and then obviously it'll be our last one before regular season, so we can really get our what the roster should be locked by then, so that'll be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for any of you waiting for our award predictions, we promise it will be next week in our next episode.
Fact.
I know you've seen it in the title, but it will be next week.
And next week, to be honest, it'll be awards. NFL we'll just discuss any shocking cuts that happen.
Yeah.
And any last kind of injuries before the season. We'll probably go over baseball because we'll officially be in September. So we'll be in that last month of regular season to really kind of lock that up, and then probably do a brief discussion on NHL and NBA, just kind of predictions, I would think, because October, both those start. So hopefully you'll join us next week. We'll have some fun. I think we always try to have some fun.
Oh yeah.
We say this, we are not going to be, we don't convey perfect info. We just love sports and we try to really give it to you guys in a perspective of somebody who loves sports in general.
Exactly.
And just give you a basic idea what's going down with these teams and everything. If obviously everybody's busy, so if we can just give you more info than you had, that's a win.
We give it to you as the point of view of a sports fan, not a professional analyst.
Exactly.
That's really how it comes down to.
We're not the. Hold on, I don't even know where my glasses are. Like, I am not sitting here all day. Like, let me commit perfect analysis of all of this data on the internet. Like, no, my glasses
Like
are over here.
Mel Kiper Jr.
Yeah. I see him being an absolutely flawless specimen. No, we're not doing that.
Agreed. Yeah, so definitely check us out next week. We will be back with another episode. We'll talk NFL awards and any type of sports news that comes up then as well. So, and be on the lookout for any new video series starting. We're coming up with ideas for this season and for the other sports seasons coming in. So be on the lookout for those as well. But that's it for us this week. So we will catch you guys next week. Peace.